Discord. Give me 1 second here. Is it audio input capture? Discord. No, it's not it. Move. Is it media source? No. Anyone know what the source would be for Discord on OBS? Display capture, audio input, video capture, scene. We have display capture. What is music? No. Audio input. Hmm. Audio output, maybe? Let me just Google this real quick. Discord, OBS, stream kit, patience. In OBS, click select browser source. All right, let me see. Move browser URL. I'm not sure. Oh well. We'll capture the first 15, 20 minutes of the discussion.
Actually, Ryder, could you consider recording it on Twitch, like OBS recording it on Twitch?
It should be. Sources, application, audio capture.
Yeah, because like you earlier mentioned the output, but output will only be us and not your probing and questioning, because yours is input through your mic.
Okay, so
But
audio
all
output capture.
oh no, that captures us, but not you. So like it's
I,
only half, I would think.
yeah, I need
Mm.
both.
Yeah, so
So
probably Twitch. Yeah.
so audio output capture should do it.
No, no, you only capture like me right now. It won't capture you. Yeah.
But if I have both sources going,
What else is going? Oh, is that possible? I'm not sure on the OBS. Or we could do a test now of me talking with you. Record
yeah,
us 5 seconds and like just see if like you can hear me talking. Kind of
yeah.
thing. Let me know when to stop yapping and while you go yeah yeah like so you can see it's both.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
and stuff.
let me
Mm-hmm.
see if this works. I have it up.
All right. Yeah, I'm just gonna
Let
yap a
me
little. Like, yeah, I'm going
let me
through like
see if this works. I have
Sheldon
it up.
Nettenberg's textbook. Great Yeah, I'm just recommendation by gonna. Bell, helping me
I think it
understand
works.
how.
I think it works.
Great. Okay, now I'll let you lead. I'll mute now. Okay.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, let's do it. I have some notes here, and I'm actually going to sheets.new. Just gonna let me open one up. No. Uh, here we go. All right. So these are the notes I took down, and Friday we've been doing these mindset discussions, and I think they're really helpful. But we want to get through a couple things here, right? And so Isidore made a really, really good, pertinent comment yesterday in the evening. To be successful at this, you need three things, right? Number one, a defined edge or setup. When we talk about this, from a broader perspective, you could say this is real day trading. You could say that this is, uh, the setup, the edge that Harry and Pete align and present to us on a daily basis. But then you need to take it a step further and apply that edge yourself, right? And how you use RS, RW, relative strength, relative weakness, based on institutional, volume and identifying that RSRW is different. Everyone does it slightly differently. I mentioned yesterday I'm more of a breakout trader. Some people are looking for pullbacks. Some people are looking at it from a day trading perspective. There's so many different ways to look at it and use this edge, and you get a lot of different varying callouts because of that, right? Um, the best thing I can say is that you have two very proven traders and many more in one option, obviously, and some here in RDT that showcase this edge on a daily basis, right? And they've changed over time, maybe. Harry's changed over time a little bit. But if you're ever questioning yourself, if you're questioning why you are unsuccessful, if you're questioning, you know, with this edge why you just don't get it or you can't figure it out, just go back to their trades. Look through their old trades, right? Harry's posted his trades for years, and his setups, the way he uses the edge has changed over time because his also what's available to him has changed over time, right? And that's great. It's brought a completely new dimension to what we can do here. and offered us some new insight into how institutions, larger banks, look at things. Now at the same time, you know, because his trading has changed, maybe it's not as relevant to you today, right, on a smaller account. So you need to take that take that into account, and go back and look at his old trading. See how he used to trade. See what the market was doing, right? See how he was managing his setups. Um, I'm gonna mute whoever that is. Sorry, or it looks like you already are. Cool. Um, and so what I'm trying to say is, if you're failing, if you're taking picks and you don't understand why it's not working out for you, well, there's a lot of reasons why that could be, but you need to really be seeing that you're using the defined edge that's available to you, that's been proven to you, and are you, is the application of that edge correct? Um, Second one here, Isidore put good risk management. This is like so important and very difficult depending on how you have decided to use the edge. How are you managing your risk? Are you using set stop losses? Are you, using mental stops? Are you abiding by those mental stops? If you do, are you actually closing those positions out, or are you just watching it run against you, right? Um, so good risk management is very difficult to learn. And Isidore and I were having a chat on the side a couple days ago, and it's just like, and I've said this so many times in the past, and we get a new fresh crop of people all the time, but sometimes you just got to put your feet to the fire, man. Sometimes you got to get burned really bad to understand what it means to have good risk management and why this is so important, right? There's people in here that they spin out, they go on tilt, they take bad trades, they average in, and it's okay. Like, everyone does it. That's part of learning and part of understanding. And sometimes, to some extent, you have to, feel that pain a little bit in order for yourself to move forward. But feeling that pain and not doing anything about it is what's gonna, destroy you. And you'll, repeating the same errors over and over and over. That's what we call, insanity, right? And then the last one, mindset. Mindset's the hardest, but it's useless without the first two. Absolutely agree. And it is the hardest because, when you're winning and you're making good trades consecutively, and you know, you feel the edge is working for you, you have good risk management, you're doing all these things at once, and things are working out, your mindset's at 100%. It's tough for you to go on tilt. You take a loss, you're like, okay, I managed the loss well. I can move on, find the next pick, find the next trade. I'm seeing the market well. I'm seeing my trades, like what's happening in front of me, right? And you're able to get in that flow state that they talk about, in some of these different trading books. Douglas talks about that all the time, and trading in the zone. How do you get there? Well, it's a combination of both mindset, having good risk management, abiding by your risk management, operating in the edge that you're hoping for, and then from there, repeating, doing it over and over and over, right? And being a professional. I thought this was such a good quote. I wanted to start with it, and it defines what we do here, right? You have a defined edge that's laid out for you. There's examples of it, right? How you apply it could vary, and there's other little aspects within it that outside of what the normal setups are in your trading. Understanding what some of the indicators are that institutions use, starting to talk about AVWAPs, all that good stuff. It can all vary a little bit. Everyone applies things slightly differently. That's absolutely okay. As long as we're talking about the same things, the same general broad defined edge, which is relative strength, relative weakness, how are you applying it from there, right? What tools are you using? Manage it with good risk management, and then using your mindset to move forward from there, right? Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today. A lot of people in here are here for different reasons, right? So, like, what is your goal? This is the biggest question. We've talked about this so many times when we talk about mindset, and it varies for everyone, right? There's people in here from all walks of life, right? You got people that are, working full time in tough jobs that want out, right? You got people in here that want to supplement their income, their take home. There's people in here that just want to learn the market. There's people in here who have a lot of money, don't care about losing it as, the cost of entry. And that's okay. There's all walks in here, right? And that's the best part about RDT, I think, right? But I would say that the majority of people fall into this this bracket. Maybe not necessarily tough jobs. Maybe not working full time. You know, you also have people in here that aren't working and want to be full time. Then you have, you know, a couple people in here that are full time, right? These people in here who are working full time, really tough jobs that want out. This conversation I think is mainly for you, right? What I'm gonna say here today, but I think it does go for everyone, right? So the overall question: what is your goal? What are you trying to do? How much money are you trying to bring in? And in doing so, you'll be able to define, based on that goal, how do you get to that goal? And then what does a winning trade look like for you? Right? This is probably something that you see a setup using our edge on a fairly common basis, daily, weekly, you know, 1 to 2 trades a day, a couple a week. And you see a setup and you can execute that setup and take regular gains, right? It's not going to be all the time. This is always market pending because market first is our, you know, our mantra, right? But this right here is how you reach what your goal is, right? And so I'll give you an example. I'll tell you what my regular setup is. Right now, my regular setup is I'm looking for an options trade on a breakout, most likely, some sort of retest, right? Could be consolidation. There's a couple different, you know, setups that I'm interested in. On something that on a stock that has good options volume, it's reasonably priced, has good delta, right? Those are the things that I'm looking for in a trade. And then within that, we say don't trade your P&L, but my goal here is to take about 20% on a trade, right? And for the amount that I'm looking to make the trade, my entry, a starter position, could be anywhere from, I don't know, 2 or 3 grand to 5 grand, right? And if it's 5K and I want 20% return, that's 1K. Just about, right? So for every trade that I'm taking, I'm looking to make about 20% return, 1K. The reason I'm saying this is because for me, that's what gets me to my goal, right? If I take a couple of trades a week like this and I do, and you know, not every trade is going to be 20%. Some will be more, some will be less. I'll take a loss here and there. I'll have to cut some depending on my risk management, right? But this will get me to my goal, right? This is what everyone needs to determine for themselves, right? What does your standard trade look like, and how is that going to get you to your goal? And so if you're working full time and you're working, we'll get to that. But anyways, so that's what I'm trying to hammer home, right? Figure out what this is for yourself, and you can learn a lot about how your expectations should be set and how your trading style should be, right? Because from there, you need to say, you know, how do you look at money, right? In that relation, we said there's some people who have a lot of money that don't care about losing at its cost of entry. There's some people who can't afford to do that, right? There's a lot of people that are stuck around PDT, right? There's people that think they're good traders that, you know, can't get, you know, they keep spinning out because of risk management. They take these other trades. They're trying to, you know, take it to the next level. Have you defined what this is? And if you haven't, right, then you need to. What does this look like for you? Anyways, and I want you guys all to know, I want you all to make money. I want everyone in here to be successful. I am by no means the finished product. I feel like I'm executing on what RDT has to offer, and I'm following a playbook that I think makes a ton of sense. And to be frank, I am being very successful right now, right? And I'm doing it full time. So like if this can help you in any way, I really hope it can. We'll see. Anyways, the next thing, and in order to get here, in order to have a good understanding of how you define, you know, what your goal is, what a winning trade looks like for you, you have to be able to be introspective, right? You have to be able to take a step back, look at yourself from a helicopter view, and say, here's where I am. Here's what I've done so far. Here's my body of work. And do I have the ability to say that, yes, I've taken a lot of these winning trades, my trade, right? Have I taken enough of these trades to say that, yes, I can do this on a regular basis? If not, then maybe this isn't your trade, right? Maybe this isn't your trade. If you can't take that, if you can't go through and look at your, all your trades over time and see where you're going wrong, trying to find this trade, then how are you going to improve? So being introspective is the most important part here, right? And the reason this is important is because if you're not introspective, then how are you going to have personal responsibility to say, okay, I picked a good stock, I used the right edge, but I didn't manage it well. Okay, how do I improve? Well, I have to manage it better. Did I use a stop loss? Do I need real hard stop losses, or can I use a mental stop loss? If I use a mental stop loss and I don't actually take the loss when I say I'm going to because of the alert, then I don't have personal responsibility, right? Am I compounding my errors? Am I adding to trades when I shouldn't? Right? There's some thoughts to be had there. So it's all personal responsibility. You need to say to yourself, here's where I am, and that's okay. This is all progress. This is all relates back to your goal, right? Are you trying to go full time? Are you trying to just learn the market? If decide what you're trying to do, be introspective about it, list your progress out, and then identify what are the steps to take personal responsibility for your actions and how you're going to improve, right? And this is what it is to ask the hard questions, right? It's so easy to sit there and fool yourself and say, yeah, I'm a great trader. Do you have the body of work to prove it? Do you have a set goal? Do you have one, two, three of these trades that are regular that you can say and point to and say that you have these abilities? Could you pull out a day trade, like today, sometime next week if the market is permitting it? I don't know. You tell me, right? But no one's going to ask you those questions. The only person who's going to ask you those questions is yourself. And if you really want to be successful as a day trader and you want to do this full time, then like having the ability to be introspective and ask those hard questions is the hardest thing. But taking a look in the mirror is how you're going to improve, right? And so I mentioned this earlier, but what's your relationship to money? Like this is really important, right? So I talk about my strategy. If I'm looking for 1K, that's because that's the relationship to money that I have, right? Per trade. Like I've worked in tech for a while. You guys, my story is up there on Reddit. Read it, dive through it. Not everyone has the same starting line. I'm well aware. Not everyone has the same things available to them. We're in different countries. We have different regulations. We have different tax laws. We have different brokers that give us, different strategies that are potentially available to us too, right? You find what works for you, identify what your winning trade looks like, what that setup is, and how you operate and do that on a regular basis, right? But here's where the biggest part about your relationship to money is, right? You need to go in and compare your return versus the time that you're spending to do this, right? You need to understand that how much effort you're expending to reach this goal is relevant, right? There is a number that we should all be looking at. It's percent return of SPY. It's as simple as that. Are you wasting your time? This is a really, really hard question to ask yourself. And if we're operating this like a business, what would a business owner say who's in any walk, right? A small business, a startup, any of those things, right? If you're a startup, say, you're raising money, you have a product. In this instance, your product is, as a trader, the product is you, right? Your performance, right? You take a bad trade, that means you had a failed product launch. And that's okay. But does this define you? No. You say, okay, do we pull ourselves up? Are we still a startup? Are we still learning? Are we still trying to grow as a business? And if we are, can we take what we learned here from a bad launch and can we pivot and do better? I don't know. That's a question you have to ask yourself, right? But you're a business, and guess what? With any small business, with any startup, you have a runway, right? What's your runway? Everyone's is different. Is it PDT? Are you looking for $50, wins? That's okay if you are, but you need to be aware of what that means and what kind of time you're spending to do that, right? Because there's a chance that you could just put your money in one share of SPY, let it sit, and you'll make more money. That's just the reality, right? What's SPY's return on the year? I think it's like 20%, right? 23.68%. If you're not beating this right now, you need to be asking questions, right? Am I wasting money? Am I wasting my time? Is this just what I'm paying for quote unquote tuition in this walk, right? In what you're trying to do? Those are the kind of questions, the hard questions that you really need to ask yourself, right? So compare your returns with SPY over the longer time frame. But like I said, if you're here to learn, that's okay. Understand what your goal is. Understand what you're trying to do. If this is, tuition for your education to be a full-time trader, great. Respect that, understand that, but understand also too that there's a runway and there's a limit to which you need to be able to say, yes, this is working or this isn't working, right? And everyone's is different. There's people that are going to work at this their entire life and they're never going to turn a profit. If you enjoy it, you love it, fine, fair enough. But at the same time, you need to be treating it like a business, like Harry, like these guys say. If you ever want to go full time and you want this to be your lifestyle. So, anyways, and then with all that to be said, are you making progress? How do you judge progress in relation to this goal, right? Whatever your goal is. Are you sticking your trade on a regular basis? If you're not, where are you going wrong? Do you have the capability to look back on your body of work and say, okay, in these months I was killing it and I was doing exactly what I wanted to do in my winning trades, but then beyond that I wasn't. I don't know. Those are questions you got to ask yourself, right? Anyways, um, I wanted to take this a little bit further into helping people that are on lower accounts. Um, but the biggest thing around mindset for me, and I think I'll say this today, is that in a market like this, it is choppy. It's tough to identify when to take gains. But I think the biggest thing that this goes back to and what I wanted to call out in relation to this conversation is I do have a profit target that I'm taking on every trade, right? And like I said, I'll take trades that'll be much better than this, that are confirmed. When a breakout confirms, I'll let it run. I'll add. I'll take a larger gain than 20%. But this is my target, right? This is where I'm starting at. This is the initial like target for what a winning trade looks like for me. So that you could call that trading your P&L, fine. But it is a target of what I think is a winning trade for me, right? Where I'm happy to take a gain. There's a lot of people in here that you find a good stock, you take a winning pick, but your trade management, risk management doesn't know when to exit. So you're at 20%. You see the stock seems to confirm. You're at 30% gain. You're at 40% gain. You're at 50% gain. When do you get out? You can trade the chart, and you definitely should, but you also need to have this in the back of your head. And this goes back to what? Managing your P&L and your relationship to money, right? If this is you and you're working full time in a tough job and you want out and you're making $20 an hour, right? A trade like this could make your month. Just saying. And that's something to consider, and that's okay. But your relationship to money better be like solid, and you better be able to say to yourself, look in the mirror, hey, I shouldn't be looking for 60, 70, 80, 90% gains. And obviously, it always depends on the type of trade. If you're running a spread, you can be looking for more. If you're, doing naked calls or puts, long calls, short puts, like you can be looking for larger gains. If you're looking for just shares trades, then you should be looking for smaller gains, right? But it's all in relation to how you view money and also the way that you spend your time and your money, right? And how much you know that you could potentially make. This is your opportunity cost, right? You're spending a lot of time here learning this. Are you beating SPY? And if you're not, where are you falling short? Ask yourself the hard questions. Anyways, I could go much deeper into this. I'll leave it there. Let's open it up. Questions, thoughts, how are people feeling? I think it's been a tough week. I think it's been a tough couple of months here over the summer. I think the market's going to pick up a little bit here post-election. VIX is making things tough, but yeah, I hope this was helpful. Like I said, there's going to be a VOD for this, so people can follow it on Twitch who aren't here, but I have it set up now on OBS. I believe that you guys can ask questions and we can respond. So, like I said, I'm not perfect. I I am finding a lot of success at this right now, and have been all year. I've taken some drawbacks here in August, some drawdowns. That's okay. But you got to stay pretty pretty balanced, right? Can't have a mindset where when you take a big 80% win, you're, flying off the handle and throwing rockets in the chat and being super excited. Just like when you take a big loss, take a full loss on a trade. You can't tilt, can't decide that you're going to freak out, right? Anyways, um, anyone who wants to pipe up? Questions, thoughts, newer people, happy to talk through anything.
I'll give it a crack then, Ryder.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Yeah, so okay, so a little context for me for the
Nice move
crowd
by the
on
market. Sorry.
you just see. Oh no, yeah. On so like I've been dabbling in trading for about okay, this will be the fourth year.
Okay.
So 3 years before I didn't do the real day trading style, even though I was aware of Harry's post on Reddit. But yeah, I didn't think it was exciting enough, so I go and I wanted to learn other ways like SMB Capital and all the other Momo style. Not saying SMB is only Momo style, but like other YouTube videos on Momo trading.
Hmm.
And the only good thing that I did was that I used really small expendable amounts of money because I'm in Asia, so I do not have pattern day trading rules to
Okay.
abide by. Yeah, so it was a small amount, but my point being, and because we're trying different views, right, is the how do you approach money, and my theme is also how do you approach time invested.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's why I put years, like yeah. So yeah, so I lost oof, about 30K total over the 3 years, and
Hmm.
then now I decided to 30K USD, yeah, and like I decided to finally go into using the real day trading wiki and finding some consistency over the months. Yeah, so to just say that yeah, I'm not a golden poster child, but just want to add some depth to it. It's like so for me, my view on progress is to learn about being patient,
Hmm.
about being able to when people say body of work is to record what you're doing and not assume that you did something, and to be able to realistically see what did you actually do and what did the market really do after the event is over. Because like yeah, I think you all see me on the Discord chat. I'm always able to preach. Wait 30 minutes. Yeah, it's because of 3 years of pain. Yeah, and death by a thousand paper cuts.
Hmm.
Taught me that. And I would like to say also is that to the part where you say like comparing with spy is that please also consider this instead that if you really do like trading like me and you're no super talent superstar genius like me like yeah years of no effort that you can consider balancing out getting a full-time job like I did. I got my degree, I went to school properly, I got my full-time job to supplement my day trading at night because I'm in Asia, and then I traded and I lost extra money, but to keep you in the game long enough to finally convince us to give you the correct mindset to trade properly. And then eventually you'll find out over longer periods of time is there better opportunities or is trading going to be a thing. But I would say that consider other forms of income if you're not meeting your targets to keep so as to keep you motivated. Don't put all your chips into just trading if you're not there yet. But it doesn't mean you will completely give up trading. Hope that makes that um, clear lah. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And
I
hope we
absolutely
can.
agree. Like that's one of the like areas of the different walks in RDT, right? Like are you working full time, but you are also, trading on the side to try and find your way to that level of being full time, right? Are you proving out a concept? Are you proving this out, while you're working, still getting income? So this is like another relation to like a business, right? You have one product on the side of your personal business, your life that you're making money on. Great. You wouldn't walk away from that product just to pursue something new until you could prove that the new product could make money, right? And so when we talk about runway, if you can't keep that runway going, with a normal job, with working full time somewhere else while you're doing this. If you can't, if and there's many ways to do it, right? There's people that are taking overtime in certain jobs. There's a lot of people that work from home in tech. There's people that take on contract roles, and they jump in and out of this, and that's fine. Like there's so many different ways you can do it, but uh, it's the same concept, right? You do need to at a certain point say, okay, how am I spending my money? What's the opportunity cost to me? And so Blazin, like the reality is, right, in those 3 years, and it's tough. Maybe you didn't find RDT till now, right? And of course, everyone does their due diligence. Everyone tries to figure out what's going to work best for them. And here's the hard reality to this too, right? Like there's a lot of people in RDT that no matter how much you read the wiki, no matter how many good trades you put on, no matter how many good stocks you find, you're not going to be successful at this. Like that's the harsh reality. I hate to say it. Um, and that's okay. Like this is not for everyone, but you need to be able to take the look in the mirror and determine when enough is enough, right? Or when to push forward and when to take the next step, right? Are you just treading water or are you building up to something, right? I don't know. That's for you to decide. And everyone's goals are different. Everyone's at a different part in their life. Everyone has different relationship to money, and different liabilities, right? So David in the chat made a good point. I know he usually is working, so he doesn't have the the mic on, but he said, I think you also want to do this to make consistent money, not to win the lottery or to scratch the gambling itch. Some people do want that, and it is their goal. Some people have that urge, but that isn't what their goal is. I think it is something to step back and evaluate for yourself. There's some great things in the wiki on gambling. I 100% agree. Um, and I have a gambler's mentality, right? There are times where I want to take a trade. There are times that but acknowledge it, right? Be able to look yourself in the face, look yourself in the mirror, and say, yeah, I'm gambling on this trade, and that's okay. But you shouldn't be. That should not be your standard trade. That should not be your. Here's how I'm trying to hit my goal by making this strategy, this edge that I have, this setup that I'm trying to um, to operate and make work on a regular basis is not a gamble trade. It's not something that I think I see some sort of like opportunity or some news event. Anyone can take those. That's fine, but take them with the right size and take it with the right mindset of knowing that, hey, this is a gamble. This is a lotto, and I'm sizing it accordingly so that it doesn't blow me up. And I'm not going to compound my issues if it goes against me. I'm going to take my loss and understand, that this was a gamble. And I'm going to record these trades because I know that, in the future, if I want to take this trade again, well, here's proof of why it did or didn't work, right? So, yeah, Blazing, I think that's good. And we see you in the RET chat. Appreciate the insight. I don't know if there was like a question there or not, but I feel like if you feel like you're on the right path, you know, identify your runway, set your goals, see what's next. Like do these weekly, monthly check-ins, see if you're like where you want to be, right? Because if you're not, then you need to figure out why you're not. And here's QQQ making a big bearish hammer.
Yeah, no one's home today. But like, just to add one thing is that what I found progress also over the 3 years is that in days like this, like if I was in my first year, I'll be like trying to trade Tesla for Momo scalp,
Uh-huh.
and I'll get my face ripped off. But like after 3 years of this stuff, like enough is enough. Like I can sit down and just chat with you guys. Like, yeah, there will be another opportunity for my setup. I do pullbacks. I like pullbacks a lot on the daily and the 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm more cautious because of getting my face ripped off so many times. Yeah. But yeah, so I would also like to highlight that being able to not think saving your mental resources for better days so you can go guts blazing when the opportunity comes is also progress for other people, for people that are feeling down today, like, oh, I didn't make any money today kind of thing, but
Yeah.
they broke even. Yeah.
And no, it's totally true, right? Being able to sit on your hands is like an acquired skill, right? Especially if this is what you're doing full time. But in my opinion, if you're at that point, you should be able to do that, right? You should be able to say, okay, my setups aren't here. What I'm looking for is not here. The market is not moving in my favor. I need to be able to take a step back, recognize that, and be okay with watching trades go by, right? Or trades that I think I see, or these Momo opportunities. Those are not like the high quality kind of trades that you're really looking to take on a regular basis, right? And that's being able to understand that, recognize that, and then execute that. Those are some tough things, and it takes time to understand and do that. Um, Everyone, and 5X was saying this last night, right? Everyone's got the devil on their shoulder that says, "Oh man, what if I take a really good trade here and I do 200% and it'll turn my whole month around." Like, okay, but how frequently are you going to do that, right? Harry says all the time in all these videos, like there's people asking questions about when do I know I can go full time, when am I going to do this or that, and he's like, you manage it like a business. If you have a week where you do, you know, 10x what you would normally do in a week, that's probably not good because it's going to lead you to think that you can do this on a frequent basis and maybe something happened for you that doesn't happen normally, right? You want to be operating in like a space where you're balanced, you're kind of, you know, aware of what some of your challenges are, but at the same time you're being successful, you're operating within your limits of what your expectations are, and you're setting accurate and valid expectations, right? That's probably some of the hardest part to understand when you're first starting, right? A lot of people come into this and they're like, oh, I can, this is a make money quick thing. And I feel like the majority of people who are here at this point and stuck around realize that it's not, right? Um, there are people that get lucky. If you want to be that guy, go to Wall Street Bets. But, you know, at the same time, they're posting a lot of wins. They don't post a lot of losses, but they get them. They do. Trust me.
Actually, like I think based on what we're sharing, because we're saying a lot of abstract stuff, right? But I would say that one thing I learned also, because like I actually came to a point where I realized that 3 years that my old method wasn't working, right? But I wanted to just share like how do you know if what you see is not working? Is that I recorded what I saw as my signal for entry every time, and then I recorded like if I profited or lost and saw over years whether this signal was a valid signal or not. Just wanted to because I think that maybe the and someone is watching this may be wondering if they're really new like how do I know if this is for me or not, like record down what did you see and then ask people if you miss something, like tag us the wonderful thing like oh he entered on the at this price, like did he miss something, and then Janet and I saw that you completely missed what Spy was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and but that's what we mean by record, and then if you need help and then show your homework kind of thing to the rest of us maybe, and we can say like oh maybe you missed out this, I mean, and then you start building more data to build your edge. Yeah, because like like between me and you, rather right? Like I look for pullbacks, you look for breakouts, but that means that you look for different things. You look for probably high volume, right? Yeah. Whereas for me, I'm looking for like technical support or EMA and stuff. Yeah, but that's our different signals that we record, and we have like data on how often those would lead to profitable results. Right. Just checking with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I say breakouts and I say, consolidation. It's very similar. I'm looking for
Oh.
breakouts of SMA. Like it just, I think we talk about a lot of the same things in different ways, and that's fine. It's hard to define the exact strategy using RSRW, but it's very similar stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. So like I'm thinking like if someone's new here, like like how do they recognize something that that is very fuzzy, like start writing things that you see, okay, like this bar engulfed, or this volume was really high,
Hmm.
yeah, or like SPY made two higher lows, yeah, those
Yeah.
kind of signals, like just saying, yeah, for discussion, yeah.
No, for sure. Appreciate it. Thanks for the comments. I think some good stuff there. Anyone else got anything? Challenges, concerns, issues they're facing, mindset issues?
So this is Corn.
Yeah, what's up, dude?
How's it going? So yesterday, well, I've been reading this book for a few days now, but it's called How to Decide by Annie Duke. And I think this goes along with a lot of things that you've been saying, But if it's okay, I'd like to read just a small passage out of the book because I
Sure.
think it pertains to me and it pertains to a lot of people here. Okay. So, part of why it's easier to see other people more objectively than you see yourself is that you're motivated to protect your beliefs when it comes to reasoning about your own situation. Your beliefs form the fabric of your identity. Discovering that you're wrong about something, questioning your beliefs, or admitting that some bad outcome was because of a bad decision you made and not just bad luck, these all have the potential to tear that fabric, right? So I think it's so important to be in a trading community, especially one like ours that doesn't put up with bullshit, in the sense that if you do something stupid, people call you out on it, and I think that that's awesome. And I think we should really try to keep doing that. And I know that it's helped me a lot. And for me personally, it's hard to admit that I'm wrong. Um, but being able to overcome that has definitely improved my trading.
Yeah, I think that's first of all, it's a great passage. It falls right in line with like everything I was trying to point out, right?
Yep,
Like
exactly.
if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and be introspective and be able willing to change, willing to say, yeah, what I'm doing is wrong, like then how are you going to improve? And
Hmm.
the biggest thing with RDT is like there is proven models and strategies in RDT, and you have all these different people that are successful at what they do that can show you, how they're doing it. And you don't come in like Harry always says, you don't come into a classroom, no matter if you're successful or not, and start acting like the teacher, right? And I think that's why there's tons of opportunity here, but you got to be able first to be able to look at yourself and say that what I'm doing is wrong. Maybe it's not working for whatever reason, and you can't just do this initially either. It's not like a one-time thing. This is a frequent thing, right? You're always asking questions. You're always asking about your performance. You're always asking yourself, right? Because no one else will. Am what I doing? Am I recording my trades? Am I, you know, do I have the right goals set that are realistic, that are actually executable, right? Like, is what I just did in line with those goals? Am I taking a trade that's going to set me back from those goals? Am I compounding my errors that's going to make this worse? I don't know. Those are questions you have to ask yourself. No one else here is going to like, you'll get all the sympathy you want here if you really want it, but that's not going to fix your problems, right? Some of the hard love, some of that stuff is helpful. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. You have to have some level of ego to be a trader, right? You have to want to be right. You have to have the need to prove some theses that you see out there, whether it's a technical analysis that you put forth, whether it's some sort of macro thought that you think is gonna work out. Meanwhile, QQQ is flying. I bet you Amazon's taking. Nope, not Amazon. Something is Nvidia. Nvidia's taking
Yeah,
off.
NVIDIA's breaking out. I just got an alert on it.
But like you have to be able to sit there and say, back yourself, back what you've learned, and prove that you know what you're talking about. And there's some ego associated with that, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Hmm.
And there's always going to be clashes of ego in this room. There's always going to be clashes of ego everywhere, and that's okay because you don't have to be a good trader to take a good trade. You can be a shitty trader and take a good trade. It happens all the time. You can be a bad trader and take a good trade. You can be a good trader and take a lot of bad trades, and that's okay, right? But if you can't sit down and retroactively look at yourself in the mirror and say, why is this happening to me? Or why is someone maybe mentioning something like this to me or taking criticism? Then, like, that's the biggest problem more than anything. And it doesn't relate just to trading, right? A lot of us aren't introspective. A lot of us can't take criticism. A lot of us, it's hard. It's not easy. It's very easy for me to say this. It's very hard for people to take criticism, right? And you don't have to take someone's criticism, but maybe you should at least take a step back and think, why is someone saying this to me, right? And then also in the same walk, like you should also be able to say, who is that person who's saying something to me? Do they actually
Right.
care about me? Do they actually have my best interest in mind? Are they just like,
Do
is
they
this?
have the knowledge?
Yeah, exactly. Do they have the body of work to prove this out? I don't know. That's something for you to decide, right? And this is what we talk about doing your due diligence all the time. If if you found Reddit, RDT and Reddit, well, you've probably gone through like 10 layers of shit to get here, right? You've probably gone through our day trading. You've probably gone through our Wall Street bets. You've probably gone through, who knows where else, Theta Gang, fucking, investing, so many different places, right? And you've had to do your due diligence to get here. What you need is a good bullshit meter, right? You need to be able to say, what's in front of me, is this bullshit or not? Is someone telling me something that is in my best interest? Is someone, trying to take advantage of me? Because guess what? The trading world's full of those people. Go on YouTube. You'll find them. They're a dime a dozen, right? They're trying to sell you something. Well, you're not getting sold anything here. You have people that kind of do care about whether or not you're successful if you're willing to put the work in. I don't know what better community there is for you than that. And if you have an ego, that's okay, but prove it. Prove why you have an ego. Prove why we should listen to you. You know what I mean? I think that's the ultimate environment, right? So I appreciate that. I think that's a really good passage, and it's right in line with what I'm saying, right? You have to be able to be willing to look at yourself in the mirror and say, am what I doing, or what I'm trying to do, am I successful at it? If I'm not successful at it, why? How do I change? How do I improve?
Yeah, and I just have one more small point to make, if you don't mind, as
Go for
well.
it, man.
I think the most important thing is to show up every day, right? Every trader is going to go through ups and downs and lulls in their career. But as long as you're showing up every day and you're actively learning, you're actively getting better, right? I think, it's easy to get discouraged. And if you let yourself get discouraged, you take a week off, you take 2 weeks off, and then all of a sudden you're not trading as often. And then you try to get back into it and you're not with the market. I think that the people that have the most chance of success are the people that no matter what happens, no matter if they just took a big loss, a big win, whatever. I mean, obviously outside of scheduled vacations, but the people that are showing up every single day, trying to get better, trying to learn. I think those are the people that have the most success.
Yeah, I agree. We talk about it all the time. It's time in the seat, right? Time in the chair. How much time are you putting in time in front of the screen? I mean, you have to read charts for hundreds of thousands of hours. That's just the reality, right? And I mean, you can watch Harry, you can watch Pete, all their videos, and I'll say this all the time until I'm blue in the face, right? Like if you can't sit there and look at a D1 chart and say, yeah, this is a good chart or this is a bad chart on a D1 basis without knowing anything about the market, without knowing anything about, if I took the name away, you should be able to say on a D1 chart, is this a good chart or not, right? And if you can't do that, then you're not ready, right? And you should be able
Mhm.
to do it pretty much instantly, right? And you should be able
Mhm.
to say why you think that is, and of course, yeah, you need to throw in some of the indicators like SMAs and VWAP and or whatever, not VWAP for the daily, but a couple of the EMAs and whatever you need to make that determination. But you can also do that without any of that as well, right? Just on pure TA. And if you can't do that, based and you have the resource available to you, you go on YouTube, you look at the one option YouTube. Every single time Pete makes a video, what does he do? He goes through his previous picks and he says why he likes this chart. Well, it's always the D1 first, and he always does SPY market analysis, right? So we're doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And so the only way to do it is dedicated practice, like you're saying, right? So put the time in the chair, and if you want to be better at what you do, well, you know, look at the professionals, look what they're doing. And if you're not doing or you're not seeing the same things as they are, ask yourself why, right? What are you missing? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. Those are the hard questions.
Mhm.
So yeah, putting the time in is paramount. If you aren't willing to sit down and I mean, and this goes back to, you're not here for a quick buck, right? You're here running a business. You're trying to, uh, you know, find a way to make consecutive gains over time. Um, then you better be willing to put in the work. And if you want the long term consistent gains, well, you got to put in the long term consistent work.
One of the things that, because I've been trading for over 4 years now, right? But my first, 2, 3 years trading, I was trading biotech stocks and I was going out of the money options and on big booms and big busts. And I thought I knew how to trade, but I didn't know how to trade. I was gambling. So that was how I started. And then I found real day trading about a year and a half ago. Okay. So I've really only been sitting down trying to day trade, trying to swing trade the right way for about a year and a half. Okay. But one of the things that kind of gives me motivation is I'm trading about break even right now, except for the whole fiasco with the SPY short thesis and all that. But one of the things that gives me motivation is that there's this guy when I first started trying to learn how to trade on Twitch. Okay. He wasn't profitable for like 7 or 8 years. And then on his eighth year, he made $250,000. On his ninth year, he made $1 million. I mean, it took this guy 8 years to become profitable. And now he's a professional trader. He's making millions of dollars a year, right? So not everybody's on the same timetable. As long as you're in the seat, as long as you're there, as long as you're getting better, as long as you're not blowing up accounts left and right and you're able to sustain it, one of these days you're going to break out. And once you do, there's no looking back, you know? Once you have that skill set, you have that skill set for life. And that's the way that I look at it. As long as I'm going to stay in the seat, I'm getting more experience. Every day I'm trying to get better. One of these days, things are going to come together just enough to where I'm able to be consistently profitable and I'm able to make a career out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good mindset to have. And like, yeah, that's an example of someone who stuck with it long enough, but they also probably had a goal and a mindset very similar, right? And not everyone has that mindset. Not everyone can do that, right? Like we all come from different walks of life, was what I was trying to say earlier. And this is where it goes back to understanding your opportunity cost associated with this, right? How much, what does putting on a trade like this actually mean to you in terms of the income you have coming in from your full-time job? Or lack thereof full-time job, right? What are your liabilities on hand? Like, can you afford to do this for 8 years, not being profitable, and then finally break out? Well, there's no guarantee that you'll do it in the eighth year just because this guy did, right? But
Right.
but it's like one of those things. Are you betting on yourself? Do you have that ego? Maybe. That's fine, but you
Hmm.
better start seeing some returns at some point, right? Because your runway only lasts for so long, right? There's a reason that these startups, they get backed by VCs, they go into these incubators. Well, some of them come out the other side, some of them don't, right? And because the runway ran out, and for whatever that reason is, and for a lot of those people, it's not because they wanted it really bad, it's because the money ran out, right? Or you just had other priorities, or something else came up, and that's completely okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, but everyone has to make that decision for themselves, and everyone has to be able to look in the mirror and say, "This is where I am. This is where I want to be. How do I get there?"
So for me personally, what I look at and what I take as what makes me think that I'll be successful at this is a year and a half into me trading the right way. Okay, trying to trade the right way. I'm profitable trading the S&P 500 intraday. All right, over hundreds of trades. I'm profitable on that. So that means that I have a good read on the market intraday. Okay, and also I'm trading break even with directional options. I mean,
Hmm.
if I switch to shares, if I start, moving spreads in, things like that, I'm trading one of the most difficult ways you can with a small account, and I'm breaking even. And I'm successful intraday trading zero DTEs. So with these things, it shows me that I have the skill set and it's only a matter of time. And that's what I rely on. That's what I look inwards into myself to where I'm like, okay, like, am I wasting my time here? Or can I actually do this? And I truly believe I actually can do this.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm putting so much effort into it. And I'm trying every day. That's why every day I'm here.
I think that's fair, and I think I see you put the body of work in, and I respect that. Um, I I mean, everyone has a different path to it. Do I think that that's exactly it? I'm not sure. That's for everyone, but I, I I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't done it myself, right? I've got my feet burned on that, and I've also done the same thing and made a big chunk of money on it too. So like, I get it. And it, like I've said, our SRW is a different. Um, it's a strategy. It is um, an edge that is defined, but is used differently by everyone in here, and that's okay. Um, Utilize it how you will, and maybe there's an entry for Nvidia right now, by the way. Um, it's used differently by everyone, and everyone has different motivations and different ways of getting to where they are. And I agree. If you're putting in the work, if you're showing up every day, well, then we know that you're dedicated, and that's all you can ask.
Thank you, Ryder.
Yeah, appreciate it. Who else got something? Anyone? Coming up on
Yep.
10:30. Who's this?
No, I just wanted to say this is such a great call. I'm fairly new here. Is there a cadence to this, or I just saw it and I jumped in?
Well, I've been doing this on Fridays just to try and help people out. I don't know if you're new, you can check out my background, my story. It's in the Discord or in the Reddit rather, Reddit thread, uh, subreddit rather. Um, I've been streaming for I don't know a couple months, like a month or two now, but I'm full time just trying to help people out. A lot of these people have been in the Reddit Discord or in the Discord for RDT for a while, and different faces here and there, people come and go, but we just want everyone to succeed. We want you to do, think about how you're going to get there. And we've seen so many people come and go. It's tough to help people because everyone has different, drawbacks and they're all in different places. You have different reasons why you are or aren't succeeding. But it is what it is. And there is a proven setup here, proven strategy, proven edge that you can take advantage of. And I think that's what Harry and Pete are trying to showcase. And I've been around long enough and lucky enough, or done well enough that I feel like I can help out. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give back a little bit. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I try to do these on Fridays just to help out from a mindset perspective. During the week, I'll just throw my stream out there if people want to follow along at what I'm looking at. It is by no means, trade signals. By no means should you be shadowing, following me. By no means should you be taking the same trades or anything. But this is the way I trade, and I've proven some success with it. Up to you what you do with that, right? And I will say right now, it's all my opinions. You do whatever you want with it, but I also say that I model my trading off of how Harry used to trade. So, anyways.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm still reading the wiki, joined in August, and this is such a great community. But since I'm a rookie, I've been trading on the side for 4.5 years while working, and I call it gambling because I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
On the side, and then now I'm trying to get into it more systematically and watch all the live streams that Harry and team are posting. So yeah, thank you all. I will not interrupt this.
Yeah, no, great. I mean, you're going to be drinking from the fire hose, man. There's a lot of new people coming in right now. Utilize the Discord. There's a really good room, Ask the Wiki AI. Literally just pound that thing. If you have questions and stuff you don't understand, just ask questions like crazy in there. Ask an RDT Learning Center. People are willing to help. But like I said when Corn was talking, right? Like, do your due diligence. Know who you're talking to. Know who's giving you advice. Like, we try to make it so it's a little bit easier to see, who should and could be giving you advice. But be aware that there's people that give good advice, people give bad advice, and it's not like they have bad, reasoning to be doing it. They may think that they're doing it the right way, but there's no guarantee that they're a good trader either, right? So, cool.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Who else?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Yo.
Stock. Yeah. So, the thing we were talking about the other day, I wanted to talk about, like the whole one paper, one fair thing, like one trade, like all for all the beginners. So I wanted to talk about something like that, so it can help the follow novice traders like me. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So like, if you guys have the stream open, like I said, what is your goal, right? Where are you? Everyone's in different stage here. And if you're going into the wiki says what? This wiki says, all right, read the wiki, get on paper, right? Once you're on paper, you can, up to you, you can trade one share, one option if you want to start just to understand the very basics, but you're trying to get, your win rate up 80%. You're trying to get your profit factor up too, right? And you're trying to do this over an extended period of time of which you can prove out your profitability, right? Because the theory is if you can do it on paper, you can do it at one share, one option, well, then you can scale and you can do it in reality with real money. Or you could also obviously continue to scale from there. And there's levels to this, right? There's a level where it's profitable for you as a business. There's a level where it's profitable for, to a point where you're Harry fucking Seldon, right? You're making a shitload of money. You're putting on $1 million trades like it's nothing. It is so difficult to get to that point. And the hardest part is sizing, in my opinion, right? Being able to say, because the amount of money that, and this is when I go back to your relationship with money, Like understanding your opportunity cost associated with, having to work your 9 to 5 job, and you get paid $20 an hour. Well, if you put on a trade and you lose $150 in a trade, then, that's X hours of your life that you just threw away. I don't know. Is that tuition? Is that, acceptable? That's up to you to decide, right? Based on your opportunity cost. And so when we say what your cost of your education is, that should warrant where you are in your progress in this, if you want to call it a journey, or, learning, or whatever it is, right? When you're setting your goal, you say, I should be on paper because I have X amount of money, and I know that if I lose Y amount of money on a trade, that I would be, I would, number one, it would do massive damage to my mindset. It would scar my mindset, right? And I wouldn't be able to trade freely, follow the chart. I wouldn't be able to follow TA. I wouldn't be able to do this in the right mindset because I have a relationship with money that is impacted by my opportunity costs and how I spend money, how I earn money today, right? And like I said, everyone has a different starting line, right? Everyone starts in a different place. We're not all, unfortunately, able to fall back on, uh, parents. We're not all able to have, low cost living. Some people have families. Some people have, different liabilities in their life that they have to take care of, and that's okay, right? And it's tough, and it only makes your goals and what you're trying to do even harder. But what I will say, and so I think getting back to the conversation that you're talking about, Doctor, is like a lot of people here are at or below PDT, right? When you watch Harry do his, and this is a controversial topic. I am mainly an options trader. I don't really trade shares except for outside of my long-term investments. There are a lot of people in RDT, and this is where it goes back to how you do your own strategizing, what you're doing. There's a lot of people in RDT that only trade shares, and that's okay. If you can prove out the profitability of it. And this goes back to make sure that the person, do your due diligence. Is the person that you're listening to, are they doing something that you couldn't do? Or are they, showing some sort of strategy that, works for them, but they're not able to prove out their profitability? I don't know. That's for you to decide, right? You have to do your own due diligence. But what I can say is that there is professionals in the RDT community that show you their proven strategy that works. And so Harry has tried to do these, these PDT challenges. He's on one right now. It's proving to be very difficult. Is it the market? I don't know. Maybe. Is it that he's changed his style of trading a little bit? Maybe. Right. But if you go back to like, I want to say 22, 23, early 23, probably even 21, right? You can see how Harry used to trade before he joined JPM, right? You can see how he used to manage his trades. You can see the kinds of trades he took. They were strictly options trades pretty much, right? And they were at a size where you're taking up, I don't know, 10, 15, 20% of your account in each trade if you're on PDT. Can you do that? Can you manage that yourself if you're at that level? I don't know. But one thing I will tell you is that if you're doing paper trading and you're only trading one share, one option, it's going to take you X longer. Your win rate may go up, but it's going to make it harder to do the management side, right? So we talked about those three things at the beginning. A defined edge setup, cool. You can prove that out with 80% win rate at one share, one option. But good risk management, everything goes out the window when suddenly a trade starts moving against you. And when it was only one share, that's fine because it's only 1% and you're only looking at percentages, fine. But now it's 10,000 shares, say, right? And 2% moving against you is starting to take a haircut. Now it's $5,000 in options, and 2% or 10% moving against you on a 2% move of the stock is a lot of money to you potentially, right? What do you do? How do you react, right? And that all of those things impact your mindset, right? And so how you manage those situations, how you have managed when you've gone on tilt, right? How you manage when you take a bad trade, how do you use the hard stops? Do you have them locked in place? Do you use mental stops? And do you actually take the loss when you know you need to take the loss, or do you sit there and you watch it run, right? And compound your issue. Do you add to trades that are going against you, right? Those are the kind of things that I think if you're on paper, paper is your playground, right? It's your sandbox. I recommend you to take as many trades as you can. Don't worry about your win rate. Take a lot of trades, start learning, do a lot of those things, and then you start peeling back the onion a little bit, right? Okay, I'm learning that these kinds of trades are the ones that are winning. All right, now let's start sizing up on paper, because I want to take it to a place where I'm at a size or a place where I could say, yeah, if I were to go to my actual monetary value that I have available to me, whether that's PDT, whether that's just above PDT, whether that's 50 grand, whether that's 100 grand, right? And obviously this is USD, but what does that look like for you if you were to trade that on paper? How would you feel if this was real money? Treat it like real money, right? Because it's easy once you start to understand the setups, you understand the stocks. It's easy to find trades. It really is, right? That's not the hard part. The hard part becomes, okay, what about my entry? When do I exit? And this goes back to, what's your goal? What's a good trade look like for you? What do you want to be your take profit on, in general? How do you decide to let that run? And all these things come with time, with practice, time in front of the screen, but it is so hard to get there. And you're only compounding that the longer you stay on paper with one share, one option, is my opinion, right? In my opinion, if you're on paper, you shouldn't be one share, one option. You should be on paper at size. You should be on paper at PDT level. Because my reality is that, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I think it's very tough to trade these strategies successfully below PDT. And definitely right at at PDT, it's very difficult. Below PDT, very, very difficult, extremely difficult. Like, my recommendation is you probably need close to 50 grand to start this and really do this successfully. Like, that's my pure opinion. And I've said this before in here. I don't know how some people think about that. That's up to you to decide. But that's my thought, right? And yeah, of course you're going to want to get to size. Of course you want to take it to the next level. Well, it's only going to get harder, and it's going to be more taxing on your mindset, right? If your size goes from $1,000 a trade and you're looking for 20% gains, well, then you're looking for $200 on a trade. You'll get a couple 50 percenters in there. You'll get one or two 80, 90, 100 percenters in there depending on the strategy. If they're spreads, great, you'll get a couple in there that are 80, 90%, but they'll be lower return. Awesome. But what does that look like when you go to 2 grand a trade, when you double up your size? What does that look like when you go to 3 grand? How does that compare to what you just worked your 1 hour full-time job? I don't know. That's up to you to decide, right? But this goes back to asking the hard questions. What's your relationship with money? What's that going to look like if you take that loss? Are you willing to take that loss? Do you need to set a hard stop so that, because you know yourself when you look in the mirror that you're not going to be able to do it, are you going to watch it go against you and struggle and compound your error by not taking the loss, even though you got the soft stop loss that you had set an alert for? I don't know. Those are questions you got to ask yourself, and it takes a long time to get through that stuff. So, like, the edge, learning how to trade this, I don't think it's that difficult, if I'm honest. And I say that, maybe that's biased. I've been here for a while, but it's all here for you. It's been proven. The strategy's there. You have resources. You have Pete shoving it in your face twice a week. You have Harry shoving it in your face every day if you want, if you're in one option. You have people in here that will shove it in your face if you want. And you can get the whole strategy, you can get the edge, you can get it all. It's all there for you. But how you manage it from there, and then how you take that mindset and go forth, that's a whole different thing. So back to your question, Doctor, and that conversation, right? Like, I think if you're on paper, you got to push the limits, right? And you got to identify what that winning trade looks like for you, right? Whatever strategy that is, whatever that may be. Right? And then from there, you need to say, okay, how do I size this up to the level of amount of money that I actually have available to me? What's my actual bag look like? And how do I say what, this is my business. I have my 25K. That's my runway, right? How do I grow this runway? Right? And if I take a hit against that and I, had a failed product launch and I took a bad trade, fine. Is that going to set me back to a point where I'm going to go on tilt and start trading the way I used to, thinking that I'm going to be successful doing it? I don't know. That's for you to decide, right? But that's why it's important to have your journal and your body of trades that that you just proven in just have proven in paper, right? At a size that is comparable to your current size with actual money, right? Then you can take the next step. Then you go, live, and you say, cool, I did this on paper with actual money. Maybe I'm not ready to fully, take the step to full size in actual money. Now you go one share, one option, and with real money, right? And you say, okay, let's prove out the win rate. Then you can go to the next level, which is, full size at what your expected goal is, right? And set your expectations accordingly, right? Make yourself aware of what success is, make yourself aware of what failure is, and hold yourself accountable. That's the only way forward. It really is. And this goes for anything, right? This goes for all walks of life, whether it's trading or anything else. If you set your goals, hold yourself accountable, and then look yourself in the mirror and say, did I meet those goals? Yes or no? Did I put the effort in? Yes or no? You could probably say, yeah, like I either do or don't deserve what's happening to me. Anyways, I don't know. I hope that's relevant. I hope it's like, and I'm happy to have this conversation one-on-one with anyone who wants to. You can ping me. Try to respond. I'm not like super busy. But like, ask yourself the tough questions. Be very forthright with yourself and say, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. How do I get there? Right? And then if you're still struggling and you don't understand, why, well, you can ask yourself, is it my strategy? Is it, the edge that I'm using? Is it wrong? Am I not identifying stocks correctly? Because that's what it is, right? 90% of the time, number one here, defined edge setup is stock identification, right? You get people throwing out stocks left and right in RDT. You get people throwing out stocks left and right in one option. You get people taking trades all over the place. Look at every single one. Pull up the D1. Like I said, evaluate whether the D1 is good or not. Then look at the market, right? Does the market support this trade? I don't know. You tell me. That's for you to decide, right? But you should be able to do the stock identification quickly. And then from there, it's like, okay, if I like the stock, I like the pick, cool. Am I willing to take an entry? Where would I take an entry? And then how do I manage this trade? How do I get to that, that strategy that I've identified as my winning trade? How do I get to that 20%? That's what you got to ask yourself.
Another question, though.
Yeah.
How do you manage your losing position? Like,
Sorry, ask
like
again.
I know my mic's kind of messed up, but how do you manage your losing position? Like, let's just say you're down on a stock that you just went like overnight yesterday, and it's down today. Do you still trust the D1? What's the thought process before you take a loss? Because when the D1 says, "Oh, it might be," like it might just come. Your thesis might be right, but your thesis might also be wrong, and you're just gonna take a loss. What's like your thought process?
This one?
I'm sorry.
I said this one, Dell.
Yeah, I think it.
You took Dell yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, I still like it. I think it might be like a sideways compression, maybe like a week.
Yeah, you got some
I
support
think
here, but you bought it at the
yeah.
top, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's okay. Um,
I don't really care about that because I know I'm
I
making
know.
good
I'm
trades
just giving you a hard
here,
time, but
no. You're good.
for me, this is where TA comes in, right? You'll see me if you follow along, right? Like I'm in SPY here, and I'm looking at the levels. I'm looking at a VWAP bounce, which we got a nice VWAP bounce here, and we found a new high, new level. Now we got a pullback, nice hammer right on SPY, and we're at these pretty significant levels on SPX, right? 58.67, 58.65, right in here, off some good earnings from Netflix, right? This has turned into a pretty much like a bullish trend day kind of, right? Which is great. It was probably a little bit more tradable than it looked earlier in the day. VIX has come down significantly all day, right? You're managing your trade based on what's happening in the market. If you look at what the market's doing right now and what Dell's doing, what do you think? Do you really still like it?
Um, well, my thesis for Dell would be because it's at like an all-time high APVAP,
Uh-huh.
right? So anything below that or close below the 80 EMA, I would just get out. I don't care what the market would be doing because that's just straight up weakness for me at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's it.
I
But
think
I'd be thinking there's an H minus in here, from like July 10th coming down. I think it'd be compressing here for a while. My entry was kind of premature, but
yeah.
I do think there's some upside to Dell here.
Well, here's the thing, right? We say only take the best trades. Would you take this trade today?
Um, not,
Okay.
not today.
Yeah. So knowing everything that you probably wouldn't take this trade today, right? Then and like looking at this D1, if I'm looking at this D1 and I'm seeing what's happening on QQQ, I'm seeing what's happening on SPY, SPX, like this is not a trade that I'd be interested in. And so once you're in a trade, yeah, it's okay to eagle eye it a little bit, especially if you're like newer to managing trades. But this is where I'm saying, right? If you're in options in this trade and you start seeing moving it against you, and you took a, you know, I think your entry was like almost noon or something Central Time yesterday. Like
Yeah,
you're in a massive loss right now if you had held your options, right? And so just like we were saying, Isidore says all the time, I'm interested in this in a swing because he sees, at the end of the day, here's what the D1 candle is looking like. Is it a hammer? Is it, whatever it may be? If you look at Dell yesterday, the D1 is not great, right? At the end of the day, the way it finished up, the way it closed below VWAP, like this was not a swing. So, like in my mind, you probably should have taken the loss there, um, especially at open too. Seeing how you have a couple hammers below VWAP, knowing what SPY was doing at the same time, right? You had the one big red candle of the gap fill in the first 5 minutes of the day today, but then you had kind of like two candles that retraced to try and gain it back. Like Dell didn't do that. That to
yeah,
me, if you hadn't already taken the loss, that should have been the loss right there.
yeah, makes sense.
So it's trading the chart, right? How do you manage a losing trade? It's trading the chart.
But
I
what
meant
about your thought process? I wanted to know that before you take a loss, here
yeah.
does come to play. But what is your thought process?
Was
You
your
know.
thesis invalidated, right? That's my thought process, right? So I'm in Walmart right now, right? I took a long in Walmart, pretty much close to the high of the day right here, and it's not valid. It's not confirming my thesis right now. It is staying above VWAP, which is great, but I would have expected maybe a little bit more, seeing what the market's been doing, right? And so, I set my trade based on that. It's an options trade. It has some juice in it. It's got a couple weeks out. Um, I like Walmart's consolidation. There's an L plus that's holding, support there. For me, I have a couple of VWAPs here. You have all-time high VWAP. You have the 8 EMA there as support too, with a couple tails that it's formed the last 2 days. But I don't like the price action that it's had here. So what I'll probably do is wait till the end of the day and see how this shapes up, see how the market closes, and make a decision, right? Just like you would make a decision if you want to stay in a swing to go long, you make the same decision that you would, if a trade's going against you. Is it not validating the confirmation that you're expecting?
I feel like, but also if you see on the opposite side, you remember I was in V, right? Visa.
Yeah,
And you know how with the recovery I was like down a lot. It was basically just like Bill. And the next day everyone was talking about Visa, right? So I
yeah,
did believe in the D1. And if you see on the M5 the day before the long green candle, it was like down, 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 down. I don't think so. Like if you see just till the day of the red, like before the red, yeah, the D1 isn't great. Like if you just see that, it's just like a couple of big red candles on the left side, just a consolidation. It could just break it down.
yeah.
It
Well,
just
I
has
mean,
that.
were you? Then the question is, were you early? Was the entry not good? I mean, hindsight's 2020. It's super easy to look back and say, yeah, why didn't I see this, or I did see that, or whatever it may be, right? Um, but at the same time, too, like what was the market doing at that exact time? Like this move from Visa is not ideal, right? And it's fair to question yourself, especially if you're in options. This move would have been, negative 20%. That's up to you whether you can take that loss on the chin. Like what do you need to see to hold that? I don't know. Like these are the hard questions, right? That you're asking yourself, and you have a proven body of trades that say this is what I should do. You know what I mean? Or this is what I've done in the past and done well. You need to say, okay, depending on the strategy that I was using, if this was just shares, right? You're only looking at $3. Well, $3 in a share, that's a what? Less than 1% move here. If you took it at the top of the day, it's a 1.2% move at from very top to very bottom. I mean, if it's me and I'm in shares, I'm holding that for sure. If it's me and I'm in options, I'm probably holding that. I don't know. Depends. It depends on the use case and it depends on, what's going on in the market. Um, yeah, you would have the potential to miss out, but you had enough conviction to take the trade. Um, and this is where, when we talk about the differences between shares and options, like it's significant, right? And you need to get a feel, because I truly do feel like if you are at PDT or below, or right around that level, or even just above it, like if you really want to grow your account, I think it's options personally. That's my opinion, right? And like I said, your mileage may vary. Like, you do your own due diligence, do what's comfortable to you, do what makes most sense. But a move like this, yeah, it'll f you if you're in a call, if you're in long calls. But a move like this, you'll do some serious return, right? And so maybe it's about your entry. Maybe your entry wasn't great. I don't know. That's for you to decide, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, hypothetically, I don't know if it's the right answer, but let's just say if I do start real money maybe like next year, but options, what amount do you think is sufficient to start with options?
I I said I think, like, you can start at PDT, but you're not giving yourself much like leg room there, right? In case you fail. Like I said, I truly believe 50K is like your minimum. I really do. That's my opinion.
Damn, bro, I'm 21.
Yeah. And that's the
Yeah,
hardest reality, right? I was talking with someone
yeah,
yesterday. Trading is a rich man's game. It is.
yeah, it is, bro. Yeah. All
It
right, man.
really is.
Thanks for that. Also, I gotta let Ford know I really enjoyed his talk. It was really good, though. I really relate with the thing where you said that showing up matters because let's just say like 3 months back, I did show you my stats, right? I sent to you, right? And they were like really shit. Like my mindset was, it's not for trading. It wasn't for trading at all. I've seen myself show up like every day, be consistent, and I'm just gonna let you know, like even my like fellow one share traders, like it really matters, man. Like showing up every day and like just reading, like lurking, reading from all like experienced traders like Wider, Isidore, and then Otter, like all of them, it really matters. So do
Yeah.
that. That's really great.
Yeah. Awesome. Appreciate it. Appreciate the insight.
Thank you, thank you.
Yep. All right. Anyone else? We're about 11 o'clock here, 1 o'clock Central Time. I don't have all day, but um, market's looking nice. QQQ's a little bit weaker. We found some new resistance here and a nice new compression potentially. Let's see. But yeah, off the back of some good news of Netflix earnings. So nice move. Who knows? Maybe we'll consolidate in this area. But yeah. Anyone, anything else? Otherwise, we'll cut it here because I think it's a good place to leave it for the VOD. Uh, hold on. Two things in the chat. Stern Potato question about risk management. Sorry, we're starting to use chat. For a high quality trade, should the RR always be at least 1-to-1? The possible upside should always be more than the downside you could take before you stop out. I mean, if you're finding something with good RS or RW, right? I would think that the RR should be at least 1-to-1. That's my personal opinion. David, for me, it has always helped to understand that the level of risk tolerance others who trade on RT have, and how long they are willing to stay in a trade, and what kind of move they are looking for. Make sure to evaluate each trade for yourself, and trades that other people take should be more like a stock screener for you. Yes, RDT, like we talk about finding screeners. ZenScans is a great screener, right? One option has the best screeners. You're paying money for them. That's fine. You can write it off if you need to. They have the best screeners like Green Royal Flush, Red Royal Flush. Like all those things are amazing, right? They have amazing buy and sell signals. And then use RDT, use the Discord as a stock screener. You know, it's just more eyes, right? Trying to do the same thing that you're trying to do. Every time someone puts in a stock, look at it. Look at the D1. See why they might like it. If I say PLTR looks good right now, you should look at PLTR, right? Determine for yourself, why do you like it? Why do you not like it? Why would you maybe take a trade? Why might not you not take a trade, right? Um, Throw your ideas into RDT. Get feedback, right? That's the best part. This is a community where you can use it, or to however you think is going to work out best for you. Square maybe still going. Yeah, looks great on the D1. That's Visa Square. Square probably doesn't look too dissimilar. Yeah, breaking out above the new H minus, right? Um, that's the beauty of the community. Use what's there for you. Use and be able to take some criticism, be able to learn, be able to be introspective on your shortcomings. When someone says, "Yeah, man, but did you consider this or did you see this?" No, I didn't see it. Why didn't you see it? Well, you know, Maybe you miss this on all your trades, and maybe that's why you're taking a lot of losses. I don't know. That's for you to decide, right? But yes, like David said, like everyone in RDT has different risk tolerance. There's people here that are happy to lose money as part of their tuition. There's people here who can't afford to lose the money. There's people here who want to go full time. There's people here who will take 100% loss and shrug it off. There's our fearless leader, Harry, will take 100% losses and he will shrug it off. He can do that, right? Can you do that? I don't know. That's your question to answer. And for you to decide how you're going to manage your trades, what kind of stop loss you're going to use. Is it mental? Is it hard? Like, that's up to you. And you got to know yourself. And if you don't know yourself and you can't follow through with what your expectations are and set the appropriate expectations based on that, then you're going to be in trouble. All right, last one here. Red HR. Thanks for doing these, Ryder. I'm new to trading RT. I've been here since the end of May, and I'm still on paper. I haven't been able to trade much this month, but I have been journaling the trades posted by intermediate pro traders collectively. We're at 80% win rate and 38 PF for October, so it's just a fun metric. Well, then there you go. Win by community. And that's just another reason why you should use RDT as a scanner. Helps you sharpen your blade of stock selection, and that gets you 1/3 of the way, right? That'll get you, of the 3 things that you need to know, that'll get you to sorting out your stock selection, being able to use the defined edge and setup. It may not sort out your risk management because that's a mental personal thing in your relationship to money. And the mindset thing is how you perform with your risk management will determine what kind of mindset you're going to end up having. And you're going to have to take some hits in your risk management. There's only one way to learn, and sometimes you have to pay that tuition yourself, right? Put your feet to the fire, understand what it's like to get burned, and then at that point you can say, okay, that's never going to happen to me again, right? And here's how I'm going to make sure it doesn't. And guess what? It probably still will happen to you, and that's okay. But are you going to go on tilt? Are you going to take it on the chin and say, you know, I still know what I'm doing. I can still use the edge that I've determined in number 1. If I clean up my risk management, then my mindset will improve, right? So it's all interrelated. It's not easy. It's very difficult. There's a reason we say it takes 2 years. For some people, it'll take more than 2 years. For some people, it'll take less than 2 years. That's fine. You know, everyone starts at different places. Identify your goal. Define how you're going to get to that goal. Identify what that winning trade is for you, right? Really think on this part. This is a part that no one's doing, I think, is what's a winning trade for me, because it changes a lot for a lot of different people, right? And then say, you know, in relation to that, what's my opportunity cost? What's my relation to money? Really ask yourself, depending on where you are, you know, what kind of return are you seeing? What about in relation to SPY? What if I just threw my money in an ETF? You don't have to stress about any of this stuff. At the end of the day, it's about making money, right? You can love trading, you can do all these things, but do you want to pay to love trading? I don't know. That's up to you. I personally wouldn't, but I do love trading, but that is what it is, right? So cool. Appreciate you guys. Like I said, the VOD's going to be up for people who weren't around. Hopefully this is helpful. And if you didn't get to speak, well, you know, feel free to DM me. Otherwise, I'll be on Discord for a little bit longer. I got some other stuff to do this afternoon. But yeah, I'll be around, and the stream will be back on Monday. Appreciate you guys. Cheers.